Hey, what's up, Salt Strong family? This is Pat Ogletree. I'm one of the fishing coaches here at Salt Strong, and in this video I want to talk to you about topwater. And specifically what I want to do is I want to give you 3 tips, 3 hacks if you will, that will make you a better topwater fisherman. Now, after spending a whole entire year fishing nothing but topwater, there's been a couple of things that I've learned, and these are the 3 things that I think made the biggest difference in me being able to catch fish. Now, the first hack, the first tip that I want to give you is you want to be aware of the situation, the conditions that are around you, and then change as those conditions change. So what I mean by that is if the day starts off low light, maybe overcast with absolutely no breeze and it's flat calm out there, you're going to fish that differently with a topwater than you will as the sun comes up and that breeze picks up. You're going to choose different lures and you're going to have different retrieves, and that's what you need to be aware of. So let's talk about those situations. Like behind me, we've got a pretty calm day out here. We've got a little wind that's picked up. This morning it was flat calm, and what I had to do was change what I was doing. So on a flat calm day, what you're going to use is you're going to use smaller lures, say something like this chug bug right here, or if you're going to use the bigger lures, then you're going to work them slow. You're going to make a slow presentation. And calm water, you don't really want to be burning the flats and making a lot of commotion, because that has a tendency to scare the fish. Now, as the day progresses on and that wind picks up, say you still have an overcast sky and you still are on a topwater bite, you're going to want to pick up the pace of that retrieve and maybe even pick up the size of that lure. What you want to do is you're trying to create as much commotion as you can to attract those fish without scaring them. So as the wind picks up and it gets choppier and choppier out there, the more aggressive you're going to work that bait and the larger bait that you're going to use. Okay, so that first hack, that first tip was all about trying to get more strikes, getting more bites. The second tip that I'm going to give you, the second hack that I'm going to give you, is about getting more hookups when you get those bites, and that's going to be make sure and change those hooks out if they don't have premium hooks out of the box. Now, if you don't know if your topwater lure has premium hooks out of the box, go ahead and replace those anyway. There's no reason in missing fish because the hooks are bad. Now, there are some lures out there that do come with quality hooks out of the box. One of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head is the Moonwalker. These hooks are excellent. Matter of fact, they are the inline hooks, and that's what I recommend. I prefer the inline hooks over the trebles. The owner's single inline hooks and also the MUSTAD KALJUs have been really good for me, but I do understand there's people out there that just want to use treble hooks, and that's fine, but I still recommend replacing those treble hooks if they're not quality hooks that come on the lure from the factory. Now, as an example, fellow coach Matt Lanier and I were just fishing a topwater only tournament. Matter of fact, it had to be the Head Super Spook Junior that we had to throw in. It had to be unmodified, and that lure, as much as I like it, the hooks that come on it from the factory are just subpar. They're not very good. Matter of fact, everybody in that tournament had used the same exact lure, and the #1 complaint was the missed strikes, and the #2 complaint was how many fish that got off after the hookup, and that happened to me plenty of times. So make sure and change out those hooks and put quality hooks on them. And while you're at it, you might want to take a look at those split rings. If you have an older topwater plug that you've been using for a while and those split rings look a little bit beat up, you might want to change those. Or if you buy a lure that the split rings don't look good, go ahead and put some new split rings on there. It's just cheap insurance. So the third hack, the third tip that I would like to give you is make sure you're using the right equipment. What I mean by the right equipment is using the right leader material and using the right rod power and rod strength. So what I like using when it comes to topwater fishing is what they call a moderate fast action. What a moderate fast action means is the bend happens a little bit further down that blank than, say, a fast action. I've got one of those in my hand and I'll show you the example. So as you can see, when I'm bending the rod actually bends further down that blank. So instead of it happening in that first 25%, it's actually happening at about the 33%, about that first third. So you get a little bit more flex. Now, the reason why I like that, the reason why I choose a moderate fast action is because you need a shock absorber to help keep those baits pinned in. And this is specifically with hard baits. Anytime that I'm using a hard bait like a topwater or a subsurface hard bait, then I like using a moderate fast action because you have that shock absorber. Unfortunately, with the braid that we do recommend, I still recommend using braided fishing line when it comes to fishing these hard baits. Unfortunately, there's no stretch in there, so there has to be some sort of give to keep those hooks from pulling out of the fish's mouth, and the give needs to be in the rod. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and buy a brand new rod to fish topwater. You can use what you have, and this is what I'm going to leave to my little bonus hack that I'm going to give you. When using a fast action rod, what I like to do to counteract that non-stretch of the braid and the fact that you need that shock absorber, what I like using is a longer leader of larger diameter. So I'm going to be using at least 30, maybe 40 pound diameter monofilament leader, and I'm going to put that on at least 4 or 5 feet. Now the reason why I'm going to use 4 or 5 feet of monofilament leader is it has stretch. The bigger diameter line actually stretches more than smaller diameter lines. So given a 30 pound test, it's going to have a little bit more stretch in it than a 15 pound test. And then where you have that added length of having a 4 or 5 foot leader, you're going to have a lot more stretch than you would with, say, an 18-inch 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. And that's what you're going to need to act as a shock absorber to keep those hooks pinned in the fish's mouth. So these 3 tips are easy to apply. You can start right away. The first one being, make sure you're paying attention to the conditions that are around you and change as those conditions are changing. Make sure and switch out and have some good hooks on those lures before you even get out on the water, and use a different rod. If you've got a moderate fast action, I prefer those. If not, make sure you're using a longer leader of 30 pound material. So I hope this helps you put some more fish in the boat, and I think it will if you follow through with this. So if you're looking to try any of these lures out, whether it be the Chug Bug or the Skitter Walk or the Moonwalker or even the Spook Junior, we have those available in our shop page. We also have the new split rings and the inline replacement hooks that you need, and that monofilament leader so you can use it as that shock absorber. That's all available at fishstrong.com. I appreciate it if you go check it out. And as always, thanks for watching the video. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we are the best online fishing club in America, where we guarantee that you'll catch more fish in less time, save money on all the inshore tackle that you need, and make friends fast, or it's free. For more information, go to saltstrong.com. And until then, I hope to see you in the insider community soon.